This podcast is brought to you by lillybadcock.com and the Confidence Academy, giving you the confidence to be who you truly are. This is the Confidence Academy podcast. My name is Lilli Badcock and I am a transformational confidence coach, and I'm here with a message for you. The anxiety and overwhelm you've been experiencing is not something to be feared or avoided. It's also not something that gets to define who you are as a person. No matter who you are, no matter what your story is, I know that you get to live a life of fulfillment and joy. It's my absolute pleasure to bring this podcast series to you in collaboration with some phenomenal people from all over the world who have walked the same path as you. Together, we will share our stories, our challenges, and our triumphs, with the intention of helping you to see that it's possible for you too. Anxiety may be something you live with, but it doesn't get to define who you are or how you live your life. So stand by for some powerful conversations, deep realizations, and the occasional F-bomb. So get those headphones in if you're around sensitive ears, and stand by. This is going to be fun.
Hey everyone, it's great to be back. And before I say anything else, can we just have a moment of appreciation for my brand new Yeti microphone? How good does it sound? I love it. Anyway, I'm really excited to introduce you to this week's guest, the beautiful Kat Ray. At the age of 23, Kat was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune condition called Behcets Disease. In that moment, her entire life changed, and since that time, she's been on a massive journey of self-discovery as she redefines her purpose. Kat is now the host of a podcast of her own called Rising from the Illness, and she is a voice for every person who is living with chronic illness themselves. Kat's going to be my guest on TCA Live this week, so I really hope that you'll join us at 8 p.m. on Thursday over in the Facebook group, and the link for that is in the show notes as always. But for now, get comfy and prepare to be inspired like never before. Let's go. Hey, welcome back to the Confidence Academy podcast. I'm so excited, and I really mean it today because I have got the beautiful Kat Ray on the show. Kat, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello. Now nobody knows, like everyone listening is like, Kat Ray, like they're supposed to know who that is. Kat is someone everybody needs to know about. You all need to get Kat in your life, and I'm going to go right off the bat and say she has her own podcast, which we're going to be talking about today, called Rising from the Illness, and we're going to be talking about why you have that podcast. But in full disclosure, Kat is a friend of mine as well. I know her in real life. She's a real life person, you guys. And Kat has been in my choir since what year? This is going to blow my mind, probably 2018?
Something like that, yeah.
Nuts. Well, of course, we've lost a year, haven't we, because of the pandemic. So like everything feels like, I always think, oh, it's last year. And then I'm like, oh, no, it wasn't. It must have been 2 years because last year didn't even happen.
Yeah.
So, oh my goodness. And well, we're here to tell your story, because guess what? This podcast started out as a resource for people that were suffering from anxiety, stress, depression. And then as people know, it's become this spiritual conversation as well. And we're going to get into all of that in this conversation. So let's start by letting everybody know your story. So you found my choir, or my choir found you, because I actually feel like the choir has a life and soul all of its own. And I feel like it goes out in the world and it finds the people that need it. I don't take any credit for it whatsoever. But we found you back, I think it was 2018, or it might have even been in the Christmas of 2017. Can that even be real? I don't even know. But at that point, tell everybody where you were at that point, and then explain why that is. We'll just talk. We'll just hear your whole story.
We'll
come back in an hour.
So your choir did actually find me, like it actually did, because the whole reason why I joined is because at the time I was being cared for. I was that poorly. I actually had a carer coming into my home to do my washing, to change my bed, to wash my hair, to shave my legs. And my carer happened to be Amy, who is part of your choir.
Yeah.
So you did actually find me, like how that is totally meant to be.
Yeah.
That happened. Out of all of the carers in all of Salisbury, Amy was sent to me, and she was like my absolute favorite carer. She was just brilliant. She just treated me like a person, and I can't remember how old was I, 20, 28, something like that. Having someone come in to wash your hair, to shave your legs, to get you out of bed, that's not great at any age, but especially for a young woman, you don't want that. So she was just so lovely. She just made me feel so comfortable. She just didn't, it literally was like having one of the girls over for a chat. And at that time I was really, really poorly, like really, really poorly. I was having multiple seizures a day. I was being tube fed. I couldn't do anything for myself, which is why I had a carer. I was living at my mum's house. We had to change the downstairs dining room into a bedroom because I couldn't get up the stairs. And, it was just a massive change in my life, like a huge, huge change. And I didn't want my family to become my carers. I wanted them to be my family. So we started getting carers in to look after me, and Amy was sent to me. And it was just amazing. And I remember she used to plait my hair and do stuff, just like sat with the girls, and she was sat, and I was I used to sing to myself anyway, but when she's drying my hair, I was just singing. She was like, oh my God, you've got an amazing voice. Do you know I'm in the choir? And she used to like put videos of you guys on her phone and put it in front of me. So I'd be like watching when she was doing my hair, and I'm like, oh my God, I love this. And she'd be like, oh, you need to come. And I said to her, I just can't, like, singing was my life and it's not anymore. And I can't even think about leaving the house on my own. And she's like, yeah, but I'm there. I know you, I know your seizures, you're safe with me. You can come, and you're going to love this. And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like that was, singing was so far away from what my life had become. And I couldn't even comprehend like leaving the house without my family, or to do something for me, because that just wasn't my life anymore. But she basically convinced me. She said, I think you guys were doing like a gig at the Market Square, maybe for Christmas or something.
I think it was in the bandstand.
Yes, so she said, come along. So my mum tipped me, and literally my face just lit up the whole time you were singing. I was like, this is what I'm about. And it made me laugh, because I think it might have been Sophie, had her little girl in the pushchair, like outside the bandstand, and I was like, Mum, that could be me. I could be sat there with the pushchair, like in my wheelchair.
I love it.
Since that, that kind of performance that I saw, I was like, I need to be part of this. And because obviously Amy, this is what I mean, it's just mental that the fact that I had my own personal carer who was there with me the whole time. She picked me up, she took me, she left quite soon after that to start like a new kind of career path, which actually all fitted in as well, because I'm not sure how that would have gone down with her company if she'd have then been like, picking me up. I don't think it would have been possible. So it all just kind of like fell into place really well. It's just bizarre how it happened. Absolutely bizarre.
It's just magic. And so, just for everyone listening, then let's go all the way back, because you've talked about being poorly, you've talked about needing a carer, you've talked about how singing was completely your life, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So take us back, for everyone who doesn't know you, to the challenge you faced, because people come on this show and they share their stories, and so often it's a story of a challenge of some point, and then they share how they've overcome it. And what I love about your story, and what I want to highlight more, is that this isn't a story of, oh, I had a challenge and then I got over it and there was a magic cure and now I skip through meadows and everything's perfect. Like, you're still very much in your challenge, but I think you've really found yourself in that place. And that's what I want people to know. I want people to know that, even if life throws them a massive curveball that sucks balls, like, you're still who you are. You still get to live your life And it's not always about how can I get rid of this challenge? How can I completely get around this? It's about, okay, well, if it's here to stay, how can I thrive anyway? Right.
Yeah.
So going all the way back, before you fell ill, who were you and what were you doing?
So who was Cat Ray? Well, it's weird because I've always suffered with my illness. We just didn't know what the illness was.
Right.
But I always talk about, I used to talk about how I don't want my illness to define me. I don't want it to control my life. And then I came to a point where I was like, actually, my illness does control my life and it does kind of define me in a way, but I am now me with the illness rather than the illness with me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So before I got really, really ill, I was a singer, a performer. I performed from such a young age. I was gigging from, I don't know, but like 13, 14. And that was just my life. And I know like people say, you know, music's my life, singing's my life, but it actually was like, that is how I made a living. I had a business. I started off at the Britannia Hotel. So I got an audition and I was like, you know, I was looking for a job in singing, and I got this audition, went to Manchester, and they said, oh, you're going to Llandudno. And I was like, oh, cool. So I said to my dad, oh, I'm going to Llandudno. And he was like, what, Llandudno? Do you know where that is? And I'm like, I've got no idea. And he's like, North Wales, probably about 8 hours for me to drive there. I was like, oh, well, I've taken the job, you know, because that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then, you know, I then worked for holiday parks and contracts, and I then had my own solo show and I was touring it. And then I got a job with Disney. My dad sent me the audition and I thought, oh, well, I'm not going to get that, but you know, I'll go for it. And that took me on a completely different path, because I went away from predominantly singing to more acting, which I absolutely loved. It was just, you know, amazing. And then I came back and kind of wanted to set some roots, so I started my entertainment business. So I was kind of doing loads of kids entertainment and kids parties, which then led to, you know, music events, gigs, wedding, you know, it just kind of spiraled from there really. It's weird, it kind of just, everything I think happens for a reason, and your path changes and you kind of do this thing. And you know, with Disney, it was very much, I actually left college because the second half of the year was all acting and I just wasn't interested. I wanted to sing, and I went off and got a job in singing, and that was it. But then it came back to Disney, which was acting, which is so weird because it's never something I wanted to do. And now fast forward to now, I'm currently doing a radio play, which is act. It's so weird, like how your path, it all kind of like sets you up. I don't know, it's bizarre, but
I love that as well. It does, you know, if something's meant for you, you'll keep coming back to it, even when you've convinced yourself that you can't do it or you shouldn't do it or whatever. You'll always find your way back to it. And this is what I love about that. You know, lots of people talk about, oh, I've got to find my purpose, and I'm like, you don't have to find anything, it's already yours. It's just a lot of the time we don't realize that that's what it is. We just think it's something we're doing, and often because it feels so easy and enjoyable as well, you know, we don't even feel like we've made much effort to do it, so it doesn't feel like it counts. You know, I think when people talk about purpose, it's like, oh, well, that must take a lot of effort to go out and find. Like, no, it's who you are, it's who you've always been. So
it's it's mental, absolutely mental. And I think it's just so weird that things happen in that way. Oh, are you still there? Oh,
I'm still here. Yeah.
That it all kind of has led to now, because I was doing what I was doing, and then I had a massive crash in my health, which then led me to being hospitalized, and then just basically being a vegetable for a while. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't really, you know, there was times that I couldn't even speak or think. It was just so odd. It just wasn't me. And I've been on this massive journey of kind of trying to build my health back up, but then mentally trying to get around the fact that I've lost my life. and then trying to kind of like find myself again. And like I said, now I'm doing this radio play, which is predominantly acting, and I can do it from my own home, which is great, because if I had to leave anywhere or go to a studio or whatever, then I won't be able to do that, because I still can't travel on my own. You know, I look a lot better and I am a lot better than I was, but I still can't live the life that I did. I don't think I'll ever be able to go back to fully singing professionally, because my body won't allow that anymore. That's not because, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, you know, you'll get there, but yeah, okay, you can have your dreams and aspire to things and work to things, but you have to be realistic, and my body won't allow me to do that anymore. So it's kind of one of those things where it's a bit of acceptance as well. And I think I've got to the point now where I have accepted what my life is now. I don't let that become me. It just is what it is.
I think that's such an important point. And I'm someone who, I love to dream big, right? I'm a huge fan of having big dreams. And I still think that anything's possible. I just think miracles happen all the time. And I really do believe that. But I think sometimes when we get so fixated on those big goals, especially when it feels so far out of reach, like your reality right now doesn't match that, right? You know, if you were trying to set a goal of, well, one day I'll get back to that life that I had, and I'll gig and I'll travel and I won't be ill anymore. On the one hand, that's a great vision to have, but I really do think it can stifle people. It can hold you back. And every day you wake up and that isn't your life, you just feel awful about it. Like, and sometimes it's under the surface as well. You might be all like, yeah, on the surface, but underneath you're like, that's not my reality. And I think you could live your entire life trying to get back to something that was never destined for you. And I know we've had conversations about this so many times. And, you know, I just want to as well highlight to people listening, you know, when Kat says she was a vegetable, she's not being dramatic. Can we just tell people, like, first of all, the condition you live with is called Behcets Disease, and it's very, very rare. Is it 1 in a million people get this or something? It's like
1 in 100,000.
1 in 100,000. So it's like, you know, this isn't your everyday thing that lots of people have heard of. And actually, one of the things you struggle with a lot is even most doctors don't even know what this is. They don't know how to treat it, or like nobody really knows. Just run us through some of the symptoms, like when you're at like worst case scenario, and I know you've been coming through a tough time recently, like at the worst point, what is it that you would have to deal with on any given day, just to give people that idea so they know that, you know, I mean, you are dramatic, we know this, but about this, like, that's not what this is. This is real, right? No. So just let people know what you'd have to deal with on any given day.
So I suffer, like Lilli said, with Behcets disease, neuro-Behcets disease, and then as a part of that, gastroparesis, which is partial paralysis of the stomach. So Behcets disease, basically the kind of motto is where the blood flows, it goes. So it can affect every single part of your body. And the thing that it's affected me most is my vital organs. So I do say a lot, like, without sounding dramatic, because some of the things I say does sound dramatic, it is very true. So, you know, at my worst case, it affects my brain. So I have multiple seizures. Now, these seizures can have me out for, I don't know, sometimes up to 5 minutes. When I come around, I can't speak, I can't communicate, I just can't, I don't even know where I am. And although sometimes now my seizures are a lot better and they're kind of managed a lot better, I do still have these moments where I can't think of what I need to say, I can't speak, I can't communicate. That's scary in itself. I lose my vision as well, so my vision will just completely go, and it sometimes it takes ages to come back, and you know, that is really scary. It was scary the first time it happened, and I am used to it now, but you know, it is in the back of your mind that maybe one day, like, what if it doesn't come back? That is scary. So it affects your eyes as well, your vision. Sometimes I just get really blurred vision, sometimes I can't concentrate, I'll be looking at the computer and literally it's just kind of like it, you know, it completely debilitates me mobility wise. Some days are better than others. My joints are horrendous, you know, my hip joints, there's just nothing in between my joints anymore. It's just bone on bone, so they're very bruised. I get a lot of swelling. I get numbness. Sometimes I can't feel my hands, I can't feel my feet. I get lesions all over my body. I get blisters, I get ulcerations. Like I said, I have partial paralysis of the stomach, which means when I eat, I vomit. And it got to
like
the point,
every time. It's every time, isn't it? Like, this isn't just like every now and then she'll throw up, guys. Like, every time.
It got to the point where I went down to 6 stone. Because I literally couldn't keep anything in. So then I was tube fed. And that took a good 1.5 to 2 years to get my weight back up to a healthy weight. I now have treatment every 6 weeks where they basically take all the blood out of my body. They filter out my plasma and they give me new plasma, and the plasma goes back in. That takes 3 days. So every 6 weeks for 3 days, I'm out of it for my treatment, and then I'm out of it for another maybe 2 or 3 days after that, where I'm just completely, you know, just gone. It just affects like every part of my body. Now it's starting to affect my heart. It's affecting my blood pressure. So now, you know, I'm a little bit stronger. I can kind of stand up and stuff on my own. But then when I do, I pass out because my blood pressure goes mental. So it's just, sometimes I feel really like I moan or I'm kind of being dramatic, but there's so many things that it affects. And it's really frustrating. I say this a lot. It's not just like I've got a heart condition. I can say I've got a problem with my heart. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of the time I don't go into it, because I feel like people will go, oh, well, what else? Go on then. Jeez, like, you know, the list is just endless. But it really is. And now I've been having problems with my kidneys as well. But this is the thing with this condition. It's an autoimmune condition. There's these horrible things in my plasma, which is just continually attacking my body. So it literally affects everything. And you're like, oh, there's something else now. Like, what's going on? Just leave me alone. No, and that's the thing. And do you know what? But this is just the testament to who you are, because the fact that you're like, oh, well, I don't like to moan. Well, I know people that would moan. Like, I've been moaning. I've got a cold, right? I've been whinging my ass off since yesterday. And like, you know, I messaged Kat yesterday, everyone, about this. Kat messaged me and was like, we're doing this interview, and I was like, yeah, we'll do it. I was like, just so you know, I've got a cold. And the thing is, I think that was just habit, because if I was seeing you in person, I would have to tell you that I had a cold, because then you wouldn't be able to come around. So I think it was just habit, because actually it doesn't really matter because we're on Zoom. But you know, straight away Kat was like, oh, well, you know, do you want to redo it? And I'm like, mate, if you can sit and do an interview with your list of things, I think I can cope with a snotty nose. But that's just the testament to you, right? That's just the whoops, oh, I've thrown you on the floor. All is forgiven. That's the testament to the person you are, right? And I think that you really learn your strength when life throws you whatever it's going to throw you. I think we really find out how strong we can truly be. And I think so many people think they're not strong, and so many people, and I'm sure you have moments where you feel like you're not, but you really friggin' are. Like, you are a warrior. I've said this to you so many times, and I just wanted you to say that, because I wanted people to understand that this isn't like, you know, a word that, you know, you don't just use the word vegetable to be dramatic. It literally is that, you know, and there's so much more even that you didn't list. Like, it would probably be an entire episode just to list all of the things that you have to go through every day. It's not even that this happens like once a year or something. This is constant. And like you said, it's, you know, just when you think, you know, oh, okay, well, I'm dealing with blood pressure. Cool. Let's sort that out. Great. Nailed that. Oh, what's that? Now my kidneys are failing. Awesome. Okay, well, let's deal with that. And that's your life, right? Yeah.
And I think what you've highlighted is important, that you said your illness doesn't define you, but you seem to have come to a point where you're allowing that to be who you are. And this is the thing I want to get to, you know. Kat is woo-woo as they come, right? We have some amazing woo-woo conversations as well, like spiritual conversations. And, you know, I mean,
I just think it wasn't just, you know, when your illness hit, when it got, you know, to the point where you had to quit your job that was your dream job, right? You were loving your life, and that illness took that from you. In the same year, your dad passed away. You lost, was it your grandma or your granddad?
My nan and my granddad.
Your nan and your granddad, of course.
Yeah.
And
my
also
husband.
your husband left, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, me and Kat have a laugh. Like, I know Kat, and like we have a laugh where I'm like, oh, you're so extra. Do you know what I mean? It's not enough just to lose one person. Let's just lose all the people. Like,
yeah.
And of course it's not funny. It's not funny at all. But it's kind of that thing now where Kat will message me and she'll go, oh, like, this is happening. And it's never just that one thing. It's always the worst version of whatever it could be. It's always the worst case scenario, isn't it? So now I'm just like, of course, that's it. But I love that you own, it doesn't define you. You don't go around acting like someone with an autoimmune disease. Like, you act like in spite of that, you know. And you found your podcast. You started a blog first, I think, didn't you? And then it became a podcast, and now it's become a YouTube channel as well. Yeah. And this is the thing. It's about, you could have spent your whole life feeling really upset and angry that this happened to you. And I'm sure you get those days, right? It would be understandable.
Yeah.
But overall, you've come to this place of going, maybe this is my path. And so if this is my path, and if I know that I've got everything I need in me to fight this, and if I know that I have everything available to me to be the best version of me, then what does that look like? And that has led to you, like I said, starting a blog, starting a podcast, and having this YouTube channel. So tell us now about this podcast and your YouTube channel. Tell us what your mission is with that, and what it's doing for the world that's so brilliant.
So basically, when I first got really, really, really bad, I just had this massive crash. I was used to dealing with symptoms of my illness. At that time, I had my diagnosis, so I was used to it, but I wasn't used to it completely debilitating and cutting off my life. And at that time, there just wasn't resources. There wasn't people that I could chat to about what I was going through. I spoke to the Behcets UK charity, who are absolutely amazing. And I said, can you put me in touch with someone who is going through what I'm going through, who I can talk to? And they put me in touch with a sort of middle-aged man, which was great, but he's a middle-aged man. He wasn't a woman of my age going through the same time of their life. And I really struggled with that. I really struggled to explain what I was going through to the people who didn't get it because they weren't going through it. And I went through a horrible, horrible time where I didn't want to live. I did not want to be here. I literally was in this kind of place of wanting to be with my dad, who's passed, and being stuck here on earth where I wasn't alive. I wasn't living. Like I said, there were times that I was just in my bed constantly. I couldn't really think for myself. Everyone was doing things for me. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go to the toilet on my own. I was literally weeing and pooing myself. Like I was, like I said, I was a vegetable. I couldn't do anything for myself. And at that stage, I was like, what's the point? What is the point of this? And I got myself out of it, which was, it was hard, but you know, I did. And a lot of that was to do with my niece, who basically came into me one day and said, are you going to go to heaven? Like, are you going to go and live with Gramps and Nan and Granddad? And that broke my heart. And I was like, I can't do that to her. I cannot give up on my life for her, for my family. Like, they've been through too much. And actually, no, it's not my time yet. So I kind of slowly got out of that. And then as I got a bit stronger, that never left me, that there's going to be more people out there in that position. And I just didn't want people to be in that situation and feel like there's no way out and feel like there's no one to talk to. So that's why I started my blog to start with, just to kind of see if it would maybe help anyone, just sharing my experience. And I had such a good response from it that I thought, you know what, I can't just I can't just leave it here. I'm gonna do this podcast and basically just barrel, open up completely about my life, and if it helps someone, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And it did. I think on my first ever podcast, I basically said, I haven't had a poo in 5 weeks.
You did. I remember listening to it. It was all about the poo, the poo-namis.
The poo. I mean, poo has been a massive part of my life. I either just poo myself constantly, or I can't poo. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
So having a normal poo is like a massive deal to me. But it's things like that that are not spoken about, that so many people have said to me that they relate to.
Yeah.
And I have quite a few people now who'll say like, oh, I had a poo and I didn't take laxatives, you know, and that's like a massive deal for someone in my position and situation. And that's basically where it started, was to help those people who are feeling on their own. They don't necessarily even need to reach out to me, but just to hear my story, to think, oh, do you know what, I'm not on my own. And you know, I had one girl who emailed me and said, I really need to speak to you. And I sent her my number, and she just burst into tears and said, I've never met anyone who's going through what I'm going through right now. I've literally just been diagnosed. This is happening. This is happening. It was literally like a mirror of my life.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel like, actually, yeah, I am doing the right thing, because I'm helping someone who was exactly like me, who didn't have anyone.
Yeah.
And, you know, by doing this, I'm also raising awareness for invisible illnesses and chronic illnesses, which is something that means a lot to me, because I have experienced a lot of discrimination. I've been judged so much, and I don't blame those people for doing that, because how are you supposed to understand something that isn't, there's no awareness to it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just society, the government. For years and years and years, our disabled sign has been someone in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So people have got a stereotype of what that is. And, you know, if I'm just sat in my car, I don't look unwell, you know. I mean, I used to have a tube on my face, and that, when I had that, I was discriminated against less. But it's all those different things that needs to be kind of spoken about and raise awareness. And I think that has become my goal as well, is not only to support these people, but to raise awareness for them and that understanding. So yeah, okay, you might not be able to relate to that, but if you understand it a bit better, then you won't judge as much.
Yeah, exactly that. And do you know what? I think on a spiritual level, I believe we're in a time of real change. I feel like there's an army of, I'll call light workers, right? People that have come specifically to shift the consciousness of the planet, to change the trajectory we've been on. And in so many ways, and I think, you know, like what you've just said, you know, that perception of disability that we've all been given, it's through images, right? And you know, and it's not about blaming, but it is about educating, and it's about saying, do you know what, this is the reality now. You don't have to be in a wheelchair to be disabled, to be massively debilitated. And I think, you know, the fact that you got less pushback when you had that physical thing on your face, like that's a real point I want to pick up on. That, you know, for you to be accepted, you had to stay stuck at a point in your life where you needed a tube on your face, or you needed some physical thing for people to see, so that you could be seen as someone who's disabled and therefore get the help that you need. And I think this is where we're at, and this is what's changing, and it isn't easy work. And I take my hat off to you, and I so honor you for doing it, because, you know, not only do you pave the way for other people, but you're healing yourself in that journey as well. Because I imagine every time you comfort somebody else when they're dealing with a symptom, you heal that little part of you that's still hurting, that you had to go through that, and that, you know, there'll still be a part of you that didn't understand why. And I think you are being that thing that you needed at the time you needed it, right? And
oh yeah, absolutely.
I you know, and the other thing is, I think a huge part of it is that shift in perception. And I can remember in fact, I remember the day that you came to see Evo sing, because Amy brought you over in your chair at the end, didn't she? And I remember crouching down, and you were like, oh my God, I loved it. But at the same time, you were like, I don't see how I could be, like, how can I be in this choir? Like, nobody else is in a chair. I've got this tube on my face that was going down your throat at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to you, I don't know either. I don't know. But all I know is if your heart wants to be here, you get to be here. That's always been the rule in Evo. Like, if you feel led, you get to come. It doesn't matter if you're disabled, if you're old. Like, I've had people email before and gone, I'm in my 60s. Am I too old? No, you're not too old. I don't believe in that. It's not a thing. If your heart wants to be there, then you get to be there. And like, that's how I feel about singing in general anyway. And I think, you know, I mean, we could get into that now, but there's a whole perception of people that go, oh, I love to sing, but I can't. Well, that's bullshit. If you want to sing, you should sing, right?
Yeah.
Nothing should stop you, not even a tube down your throat. And
yeah,
I remember you coming into the studio for a session, and that moment where I was like, I'll be honest, I don't know if I can help either. I don't know if you can sing with that tube down your throat. I've never had anyone with a tube down their throat, but I just had to come back to my beliefs, and my beliefs are, you should just try. You don't know, like, until you've done it. And that moment that I said to you, well, what would you have sung? Like, what would you have sung back in the day before all of this happened? And you were like, I think it was I Dreamed a Dream, wasn't it? From Les Mis. And you were like, well, I can't sing that anymore. And I was like, okay, but we don't know that. So let's just see, like, just try and see. And I'll never forget. And I know that, you know, you didn't hit the notes the way you wanted to. There was still that feeling of my voice isn't strong like it was, but you hit so much more of that song than you thought you were going to. And I think we were both in tears by the time you'd finished, because you were like, I didn't think I could do that anymore. And I was like, I'll be honest, I didn't think you were going to do it either, because you'd convinced me that it wasn't going to happen. So when it happened, it was like, you know, and I think, you know, that is such a testament to the power of music. And especially for you, you said earlier that music was your life, and right, that's a cliche because lots of people say it, but in your case, it truly was your life, because not only was it the business that you had and the hobby that you had and the thing that you love to do, but it's such a connection to your dad as well, isn't it? Like, your dad used to sing with your dad all the time. Your brother and sister sing as well. In fact, you guys, if you follow Kat on Instagram, she sometimes posts reels of her singing with other people, and sometimes with Dot, and with your brother too. And you know, and lots of, like, basically anyone that wants to sing with you, you're up for it, aren't you? Like, she's not fussy, you guys. She's easy as you like. If you want to have a sing song with Kat, reach out. I'm sure she'll say yes.
Do it. Yeah.
I would love to know the power of that. And this isn't about me pushing singing. Obviously, singing is the thing that I do, but this isn't about me going, everyone should sing because it's magic. I think what's magic about it is that you truly love to do it. And it would have been the same. I mean, now you're finding that in acting, right? So that's just it's just proof. Everybody has something that they love to do. And I think that's our gift. It's the gift we've been given to navigate life, that when it gets to a point where it's hard, or, you know, we're physically being challenged or mentally challenged or spiritually challenged or whatever, that we have this thing that's been put in us that is it's just such joy. It brings us to such joy that no matter what we're going through, it has the power to shift us. And I would just love to hear you speak on that just for a minute, because it's never just one thing. And like you've already said, you know, you have your singing, you have your acting, but now you have your podcast, your blog, you know, your YouTube channel. Passion breeds passion. And I just think that the thing I want to get across is, at some point you let yourself do that thing, even though you didn't know that you could, even though you didn't know how it was going to turn out, and you didn't know even if it was going to be possible, but you followed your heart. And I would love for you to speak on that just for a second, for anyone listening who hasn't made that connection yet, because I just think everyone's got that in them, whether it's singing or something else, right? Everyone's got a direct link to joy if they care to go find it.
Yeah, absolutely. Music's always been my go-to from a very young age. Like you said with my dad, that music was my connection with my dad. It always was. You know, my dad used to gig and I used to go and watch him, and you know, I I used to have so much joy in watching him perform, and I just wanted to be him. But I think it goes so much deeper than that. You know, I've always listened to messages in a song, and that's because someone's written their experiences and their story, and I want to delve into that and know their story. And I think there's so many times that people will say, oh, you know, can you give me some advice on this? Or I'll always go to a song and send them lyrics and send them a song, because that's my connection. That even when I couldn't sing, I used to listen to songs with messages that would kind of get me through that. Or maybe I'd want to sing when I could sing, or it's just those kind of, you know, messages and things. And at my dad's funeral, me, my sister and my brother, we sang a song that we used to sing together with my dad. And I remember the funeral director saying, I'm telling you now, don't sing it live, record it and play it. And we were like, no, we want to do it for our dad. And he's like, I've never known anyone who's the family to do that and not break down. And I remember I sang the chorus of Wind Beneath My Wings, because that was the song me and my dad always sang together at gigs. And then me, my sister and my brother did Hero by Enrique Iglesias, just because that's the song we always used to sing with my dad, you know. And we did it and we smashed it. And he was like, I've never, ever witnessed anyone do that. But that was the power of music to us. That's what got us through. And it was the fact that we were doing it for dad, but that was basically for us like doing a poem or doing a speech. Like, you know, people get up and talk, and you know, that's just what it was for us. And the whole through my life, I was actually speaking to a girl who is really struggling at the moment. She's struggling just with life, and I was sending her songs and she was like, these are really helping. And I said, music has always helped me, and if I actually really think about it, there's a definite soundtrack to my life.
Yes, me too.
There's a definite soundtrack to different things that have happened. And you know, there was even a song with when my husband left, and there's this song that I've always loved. It's called Heart of the Matter by Don Henley from the Eagles. That I've loved since I was about 17 years old. My dad loved the Eagles, and the Eagles have just been a massive part of my life. I just love their music, and it's always been a song that I've loved. And it wasn't till my husband left, it was a couple of months after, when I've sort of processed it and realized, okay, maybe this was for the best. And I heard this song again and it just made sense. And it's like that song slotted in there, even though I've loved the song for years. It's so weird how that kind of, it's always been a massive part of my life. And I've just lived through, you know, music and song. And that is my way of dealing with things. I've got certain songs that I go to, certain songs I want to sing. And, you know, at the moment, last YouTube video I spoke about my life before my illness. And quite a few people have said they want to hear me sing. I think you said as well. So I've actually been playing around with a few songs, and I've just recorded one that I'm going to put out next week. But it's actually You Say by Lauren Daigle. But the reason why I picked that song is because it was for everyone who's supported me and stood by me and helped me, because it's saying, like, you know, you say I'm strong, but I feel like I'm weak, and what everyone can see of me and tell me. And sometimes even I'm like, I don't see that. Like you said, I do struggle. I have days where I'm like, why me? I think the other day I said on my podcast, I literally had a moment where I just wanted to scream on my pillow, because I'm just like, what's going on? But again, everything comes back to the song and the lyrics. And I was talking to my friend Gav, who's helping me with my kind of tech stuff at the moment, and he's like, well, what do you want to sing? And it's like, I don't want to just sing a song. It's got to be something that speaks to me, because that is like my muse, my passion. Like, that's where it all comes from.
That's the healing.
It is. And it's that even when I couldn't sing, I listened. And, you know, I've gone through a massive battle with, you know, I spoke to you about the fact I couldn't sing with my tube. And now I'm really struggling with my lungs. I'm struggling with my organs at the moment. They're all just massively not on my side. And last week I was singing and I wasn't happy with it, and I kept going and going, and the more I sang, the worse I got. So I decided yesterday that this is the one I was going to do, and I was just going to do it once, and that was it.
Yeah.
And once I'd come to terms with that, like just one take, and however it is, that's what I'm going to do. And I was like, do you know what? Yeah, I like, that was brilliant. I loved that. I just enjoyed singing. I took the pressure away from, you know, it has to be perfect, because that's not what's important. The fact that I'm singing again, and I didn't think I would be singing again. I thought I'd just be listening to music and maybe writing music. I didn't think I'd be singing again. So I think it's just, when you find that kind of thing, it doesn't matter how it comes out, it will come out. And like now with acting, everything that I'm doing with the acting and the projection, it's all from my singing, from how I trained to sing. It's just a different way around it. And I think with my YouTube and my podcast as well, it's all the kind of creativity. And I mean, it's that kind of the truth that comes out when you're singing and you're going through that motion. It's all come from singing. And I think the kind of lesson that you've taught me, Lily, is that you'll get to where you need to be, but it just might not be how you want it to look. And
hardly ever.
Like, I mean, I remember when we did, I think it was like Find Your Purpose or Find Your Voice. I don't know. I've done so many programs with you now. And I remember you said everyone needs to write down something that they want, like a massive goal that's really out there. You know, like, oh, I want to have a really successful business, and I want to earn loads of money, and I want to do this. And I think loads of people were like, you know, oh, I want to live from my business. I don't want to struggle with money, and I don't want to do that. And then I think everyone just kind of went silent when I was like, my goal is that I want to walk my dog without struggling.
And
everyone was like, oh,
that's
okay,
shit. You didn't get the memo.
But to me, that was like a massive thing. And I remember you saying to me, right, you want to walk your dog without struggling. No, take away the struggling. You just want to walk your dog. It doesn't matter how you get there. You just want to walk your dog. And, you know, I've had Ralph since he was a puppy. And I think the first time I walked him when he was 2, and I had to take my walker, and I had a little seat on my walker, so I like walked him a little bit, and I sat down, and then I did a bit more. And I remember messaging you and saying, I've just literally broken down in tears, because I've like, everything you've taught me has just made sense. Because actually it doesn't matter that I had my walker, it doesn't matter that I was like had to sit down. The fact was that I've taken my dog out into the country. Like, that is a massive deal for me. And it's the same with singing. You know, I didn't even think I'd be able to sing with the tube down my throat, and even now I can't reach those notes that I used to, but I'm still doing it. I'm still, it's just kind of like working around your situation and working with what you've got now, rather than always having these huge goals about this is where I want to get to, because actually you just kind of like stunt yourself, you stunt your growth by always aiming so high. And I think I've just realized now that it like what you taught me, it doesn't matter that I need to get there and it has to be perfect, because that's actually not reality anyway. But
and so not the point. And you could spend your whole life not doing it because it's not perfect, and then missing out on the thing that can heal you, right? The thing that connects you to joy. And I think, you know, goals are fun, they are fun to have, but what you're talking about is that bit in the middle that people are so afraid to be in. We're so afraid to be in the mess and in the bit before it gets really good. But the thing is, you know, we don't ever know what the journey is going to look like. And this is like, for me, spiritually, this is where I've got to in the last few years. It's really coming into this belief and this understanding that I was brought here for a purpose, and I just need to focus on what that is. I don't need to worry about what it looks like or how I feel that's going to evolve, because actually what I've learned is a lot of the goals I was setting were never my goals anyway. They were all based on public perception, expectation. They were based on what other people were showing. And then I was thinking, oh, well, it has to look like that then, or I have to achieve this before I get to be successful. And it's all bollocks.
Yeah.
And you can spend your whole life not being who you were supposed to be because you're telling yourself that that isn't good enough, or you're telling yourself that, you know, it just doesn't count, and it absolutely counts. And you know, you're so right. You always had access to your creativity. You've always had access to your passion. It just had to look different. You know, you were on one route and that route became blocked. It didn't mean that you didn't have access to those things anymore.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that is the message for everyone listening. You know, wherever you're at, whatever you're struggling with, whether it's a physical illness like Kat deals with, whether it's mental illness, whether it's just you know, whether maybe you've achieved a whole bunch already, but you're still feeling like you're not quite there. Like, it's okay to be not quite there. It's just important to focus on, what do I love then? Because what you love and what you're passionate about is your direct route to purpose. And when you're in your purpose, everything gets easier. It doesn't mean life doesn't throw shit at you, right? Kat still gets lesions. She still has to throw up when she eats. But I bet now when you wake up in the morning, even on those days when you're struggling, I bet you quickly shift out, because you're like, oh, but wait, I have a podcast that I want to do, or I'll make a video about this, right? And it's your direct route to healing and your direct route to purpose as well.
Absolutely. I think I'm just so much more comfortable in my own skin now. I'm not longing for the life I had.
Yeah,
that life was great then, but do you know what? That's not a life that you can maintain forever anyway. You know,
right? Yeah,
there's some point that's going to change, and I think everything happens for the right reasons on your right path. And you know, I always say there's a reason why I came home from Disney when I did,
right?
And looking back now, I had an amazing few years at home with my dad. I didn't know that in 2016, 2017, my dad was going to be diagnosed for a grade 4 brain tumor and we'd lose him. I didn't know that, but I mean, if I hadn't have come back, I wouldn't have had those years with him, living with my dad. You know, if I'd have stayed in America, if I'd have done what I was doing out there, I would have come home and really regretted not being at home. So I feel like everything, you get guided, and it all, at the time you're like, well, why has this happened, or you know, what's going on now? But actually when you look back, it just totally makes sense. It totally just adds up. And I think I've kind of just accepted now that I have no control over what's happening. I've got no control over what's happening in my life, but I just have to have faith and believe that it's happening for the right reasons. And just for the past year of what I've been doing with the podcast, and so many people who have said, you know, like, thanks for helping me, or just people who have come into my life, that's for a reason. And you know, you can't explain it, but it's just, when you look back, you can just see that it is all, it's for the right reasons, and you're on the right path. And I'm you know, I'm not happy that I'm like this and have this illness and have to live with it, but I'm not unhappy. I'm fine. Like, I've got a great life. And I think once you just kind of accept that and just come to peace with how it is and who you are, then it really does help. And you're right, you know, now there's some days where I'm feeling rubbish, but I'm like, I've got this, I've got the podcast, I've got, you know, I've still got a life. It just looks a lot different now to what it did.
Exactly that. And I think, exactly the point that you made. Typically Kevin's trying to ring. Kevin always rings when I'm podcasting, live streaming, or whatever. He's always calling. I think the point you made as well was, you could never have predicted what was going to come down the road. And I think so many of us are fighting for what we think we want, but actually we've got no idea either. We do, like, it's that faith, isn't it? It's learning to have that faith that what's been brought to you is exactly what's needed, even if you can't see why at the time, and even if you can't see, you know, the purpose behind it. You could have fought really hard. You could have pushed back really hard against everything that was happening and been stubborn and stayed away, and then missed out on that time with your dad. and it would have been in hindsight where you would have gone, oh, okay, now I get it. And I think, you know, I just think we all have a choice, don't we? Okay, baby girl, what's the matter? I think we all have a choice. You know, you can either spend your life feeling sad and angry and dismayed at the path you've been given, or you can choose to believe that it's all perfect, that it's for a purpose, and that you can still find those moments of joy. And the one last thing I wanted to touch on before I let you go was, again, this was around perception, but when I met you, one of the things you so longed for was to meet someone again, because obviously your marriage had broken down at that point, and you were very much, you know, of this thing of, well, you know, yeah, I mean, I used to be a catch, but now, like, with everything I have to live with, and I've got this tube on my face, and, you know, I throw up after every meal, and all of that, like, who is ever going to want me? And it was just the same process. It was the same process of, you know, it's not about that. None of that matters. The essence of who you are has never changed. And your soul will be led to the other souls that need you, that you need, and also to those experiences. And so just tell everybody now the situation, because you just had some exciting news as well. I don't know if you want to share that on the podcast, but we can always edit this out. Sophia, no, fighting my chest. Okay, no. Yeah, tell everyone the current situation that you're in right now, and the exciting news, if you're happy to share it.
Yeah, so I've got an amazing boyfriend and a great relationship who I've been living with for about a year, and we've just had an offer accepted on a house. So excited about. But yeah, you're right. It took me a while to kind of process my marriage breaking down and why it happened. It came very out of the blue, so it took me a while to kind of get over that and to really want to meet someone again. And then when I did, I'd kind of really come to peace with it, and again just realized it all happened for the right reasons. And I just didn't really know how to get myself back out there. I wasn't the kind of average girl anymore, you know. I was dealing with a lot of issues. I was relying on mobility aids, and I just thought, you know, who's going to want the broken toy on the shelf when you could get a nice shiny Barbie?
This is the thing, isn't it? But, like, you know, I think so many people tell themselves that, even in situations not like yours, like, you know, just any given person on any given day could convince themselves that they don't have anything to offer, or that nobody's going to want them the way they are. Like, you know, like a really obvious example would be, you know, people that struggle with their weight, right? I know that I've had conversations with friends in the past where they're like, well, I won't meet anyone until I'm the perfect weight, or I'm not going to meet anyone until I sort this thing out or that thing out. And the thing is, like, it's all rubbish. You know, you can literally meet the right person for you at any given point in your life. And what's perfect is not only have you met someone who loves you for you, but he is just the perfect person to have around in your situation. We were talking about this before we went on air, weren't we? Because, you know, like, Kat's really, I mean, you probably know by now because you've heard her speak, but Kat's so chill about everything. And he's very much like, well, no, we need to look into this. Like, is this the right thing to be doing? And you need to ask about that. And, you know, and he's genuinely interested as well, isn't he? Like, genuinely interested in what you're going through, not in a weird way, but like in a brilliant way, because it is just part of you. He loves all of that. He's just the best support. And, you know, as your friend, it's exactly what you want for your friend, isn't it? You want all your friends to meet someone who loves them for who they are, that can meet them where they're at, and that can truly offer support. And we all need support. It doesn't matter what you're living with, whether that's a debilitating illness or just trying to navigate life as it is. Like, life's bringing hard on any given day. And that's just the hope that we have for all of our friends. So I just love that you found each other. It's so exciting that you got your offer accepted on your house as well. And again, I just hope that proves to anybody listening that you just don't know it doesn't matter what you're facing right now. It doesn't matter what you're telling yourself in your head about what is or isn't possible, because there are no rules. There's no chalkboard in the sky. There's nothing up there that says you can't meet someone just if you've got an illness. There's nothing out there that says, there's even nothing out there that says you came to have an easy ride, right? We all go through life like acting so like butthurt when we get a challenge, like that was never part of the deal. And it's like, but where's the sign that says that? Like where was the thing that we signed that said, oh, you know, you'll never have to be challenged, or you'll never have to be sad, or you'll never have an issue. I really believe that we're here for those things. It's for the growth and expansion of mankind. I believe that when we're done here, we go back to all that ease and flow that we're so used to. I think that's why we seek it out. I think our souls are like, wait, why is this so hard?
Yeah.
Like, where I come from, it's not like that, you know? So I love that. I love everything you said about music as well. I believe that it connects us. You know, we are all one. I believe that in consciousness, we're all one. And music is something that transcends time, because you can listen to a song and it will remind you of your dad, or you can still sing a song you would have sung with your dad, and I know you still get those feelings and those memories of doing that with him, and that's the connection. And you know, I mean, after I lost my friend last year, music spoke to me. Literally, I had questions about, well, where have you gone now? Like, I had this amazing story. The day she died, I got in the shower and I was playing a playlist that we'd all put together. We knew we were going to lose her. She had cancer. And so we'd all put this playlist together. And as I was getting ready for my shower, I was really thinking about her. And I was just like I still don't get it. Like, where are you? And what's going to happen now? Because now you've gone to that side and I'm still on this side. And a bit like you were saying earlier, you felt very stuck here while your dad had gone there. And I was like, what happens now? Because it could be years before I get to go where you're going. So how does that work? And as I was having these thoughts, this song came on the playlist, and it caught my attention because that playlist was songs that we'd all chosen that reminded us of each other. So they were all songs like Usher and, you know, stuff that we'd listen to when we used to get ready to go out and all of this. And this song came on and I was like, I don't remember that. That's not a new song to me. And the thing was, we'd put the playlist together with lots of her friends. So it wasn't unusual to hear a song that I didn't know, but it felt weird that at that given time this song came on. And it was a Mumford and Sons song. And the chorus is he just repeats the words, I will wait for you, over and over again. I don't know if you know it. It's the most. And the thing was, as soon as the song started, you know, when you hear those songs that you just love with your whole body, I was like, oh my God, I just love this music. It made me cry, but in the most beautiful way. It was proper release. And then those words, I will wait for you. And I was like, oh my God, that's the answer. She's just going to wait wherever she is. Like, I'll see, like, we'll be together again. And actually, we've been together again. She sees me. I see her in dreams. She visits me. When I wake up from those dreams, it truly feels like I've spent the day with her. It would have been the same when I used to go and spend the afternoon with her or whatever. You know, when your cup gets filled because you've been in that person's energy. And I still have access to that. And that's the magic. And like, the song taught me that. And while that song was playing as well, I just had the most profound moment, you know, because in the years prior to that, I'd really struggled mentally. And there were loads of times where I felt really sad and I was afraid to cry. I didn't like crying. It felt like weakness and it felt pointless. And I never liked to do it. And in the moment that song came on and I was crying so hard, I just had this moment of clarity. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sad and I'm so okay all at once. Like, I think it was the first time I'd cried and not been afraid that I wasn't okay in so long. And it was so weird because my friend had just died. So it was like, I shouldn't be okay, but I'm really okay. And I don't understand why. I mean, what happened after that was the most amazing message got channeled through me in journaling. That bee flew in, like anyone that hears me talk. I talk about the bees all the time and I still get the bee signs all the time. I don't know if you saw at Christmas, but suddenly there were bee ornaments on all the Christmas trees, which I've never seen, and it was our first Christmas without her. I was like, I love that that's happened. And maybe there's always been bees, but I never saw them, and that's the point, isn't it? It's what you get drawn to consciously. And I genuinely believe that there was an activation that took place when she died. I believe she's still with me. I believe your dad is still with you, and I think music is what connects that, you know. And I know you
my
believe
dad
that. Yeah.
So that I've got a really quick story for you that you'll love. So we've been looking for houses for a little while, and we found, at the moment it's just really busy, so we found a house we loved. There was like 8 other offers on it, and it was just, you know, we just felt like we were getting nowhere. And then we found another house that we loved, and the estate agent was really messing us around. You know, we put an offer in, and it took like a week to even, like, well, we don't even think the offer went into the seller. It was just a nightmare.
Yeah.
And I said to my dad, I speak to my dad quite a lot anyway, I was like, Dad, sort it out. I said, it might not be this house, but just send me a sign when it's the right house, or I just can't keep going through this stress, because I think this is why I've had all these lesions, because of the stress.
Yeah.
I said, I can't be going through the stress. I said, just sort out the estate agent, or like just send me a sign, because I can't keep going through it. So anyway, this house that we've had the offer accepted on, we went to see it, and it's in Amesbury, which is a little bit far out of Salisbury. And I was a bit like, I'm not sure about being that far away from Salisbury, even though it's not that far at all. But
yeah,
it was the perfect house. Like, literally, it's got everything. It's got like a toilet downstairs, it's got a room downstairs that I can sleep in when I'm ill. Like, it's just literally, it had everything. But it was just the location. And I kept saying, you know, if it's the right house, I'm going to get a sign, because Dad is like, I've asked Dad and he will come through.
I asked for it.
Yeah. So anyway, we had a few questions for the estate agent, and Chris said, it was a Saturday, he said, do you want to try and ring them? And I said, yeah, all right, I'll get the number off the website. So I went on the website, and I ended up on a contact us page, and it had a list of all the staff that work there. Now, this was a Saturday, so we didn't meet the staff. It was just like the kind of relief Saturday person who shows people around.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'll just scroll through the list. And then this face came up, and I was like, oh my God, this is the house. And Chris was like, what? It was like, get your healing crystals out. Go on, tell me your weird woo-woo thing. It was a picture of the keyboard player from my dad's band, who my dad played with for years and years and years. I didn't even know he was an estate agent.
Wow.
And he came up, and I was like, that's a sign. I said, I don't want these estate agents to mess us around anymore. My dad would absolutely know that this guy would not mess us around. I think this guy joined my dad's band like when he was a teenager, and they were together all this time. They stayed together. He was at my dad's funeral. He was in the front row at my dad's funeral when we were singing, and he was in tears. And I was like, this is the house. I'm telling you now. And Chris was like, oh, whatever, like, you know, get your crystals out. He said, you know what it's like? There's so many people wanting houses. Anyway, I was like, right, I'm telling you now, if we get this house, you need to stop with the healing crystals. So he phoned on the Monday, and literally by the Monday afternoon we'd had it accepted. And I was like, that was the most easiest exchange we'd ever had since we started looking for a house. And that was the sign, the message. Like, there's just no way that wasn't meant to be.
No, absolutely. Oh, I love it. And you're absolutely right. And I think this is available to everybody, though. We can ask for these signs. And sometimes again, even that, we're so attached to outcome, right? We ask for these signs, and then we look for what we think the sign is. Like, you could have said, oh, I want a sign, and the sign has to be a rainbow, right? And then we look for a rainbow and we don't see one. But the thing is, that isn't how this works. The people that will, or the souls that connect to us, will find another way to get your attention. And it will usually be surprising, and one that you really just can't ignore. I had a similar thing with Nunu's jewelry. Actually, we were invited to go and choose a piece of her jewelry, And on my drive over to her house, I was talking to Nunu, because I talked to her as well. And I was like, I want you to tell me what piece is for me. I want you to guide me to the piece I'm supposed to have, because I'll like all of it. She had amazing jewelry, right? I was like, I'm not going to be able to pick. And so that was it. So I got there, and all the jewelry was laid out on the table, and there was so many angel wings, like crystals, because she got really into that in the final years. She found it healing, and so many things that I could have just gone, oh, it's a sign because it's an angel wing or whatever. But because I'd asked for the sign, my human then was really, I was like scouring the table, like, where's my sign? Like, you know, where's the bolt of lightning that's going to show me what this is? And it wasn't coming. And I started to get upset, because I was like, I don't know what to pick. And you were meant to show me, and now she hasn't shown me. Maybe that means I don't talk to her. Like, and then your mind just spirals, right? And so as I'm going through this, I'm looking on the table, and then I spotted this little thin bracelet that was sort of rose gold, so not gold, but like that pinky rose gold. And I really liked the color, and I picked it up, and I was like, oh, this is nice. And then my friend Nat went, oh my god, look what's written on it. And I turned it over, and it said, expect miracles. And I immediately, I just burst into tears, and I was like, that's my bracelet. I've got it on now. I wear it all the time. Because it's a reminder. But what was so perfect about it at the time was I was at a real point of, like, I'd exhausted all my options in so many areas, and I was feeling a bit like, what now? Like, I don't know how any of this is going to unfold. I don't understand like what any of this means. So the message was perfect. And I was like, that's my sign. And then everyone was like, oh god, here she goes. And I was like, no, like, that's it. That is it. And I've never taken it off. And do you know what's really funny? Like, yesterday I put my earphones in to listen to something, and it was something I knew in my gut I wasn't really meant to listen to. I feel really at the moment led to very spiritual teaching, and I feel like I need to be calm and peaceful. And this thing I was listening to was very much push, hustle, hustle. And I ignored my gut, and I put the headphones in anyway. And as I was walking through the house, I brought my arm down, and the bracelet caught onto the headphones and yanked them out of the thing. And I was just like, okay, I get it. I won't listen to that. Like, I get it. And sometimes it like digs in my arm at certain points, and I'm like, oh right, I get it. It's just like so magical. And, you know, to anyone who listens to that and just goes, oh, I don't believe in that, that's cool. You go with what you believe. But I've had too many synchronicities. And at the end of the day, I was going to write a blog about this, actually. It isn't about what me or Kat or anybody tells you to believe in. You've got the truth inside of you. You'll know what's true when you feel it. Whether you can make sense of it in your brain or not is irrelevant. You know what's true inside of you. Our truth won't be your truth, and that's fine. But I think we've been in this paradigm of everybody's been searching for answers, and we've been looking for people to go, this is how it is. But that truth you've been seeking is inside of you. It doesn't come from anybody else. It doesn't come from anyone else's book or program or podcast or anything. It comes from you. So when I talk about this, and when Kat shares that story, if there's anything in your soul that tells you it's true, that's what you trust, right?
Yeah.
And if it isn't true for you, go find what's true for you. Everyone has a truth. Everybody has something that guides them. Everyone has faith available to them, whether that's faith in a God or a religion, or just faith that the remote will work when you pick it up and point it at your telly, right? Faith is available to all of us. And I just think, you know, we have amazing conversations, and it's been too long because I haven't seen Kat for so long because of the pandemic. You've been locked away. You haven't been allowed out, have you? Like,
no.
In fact, Kat was really excited when everyone got locked down, because she was like, this is my life. Welcome to my experience. Because this is it. You know, any time that there's a cold about, you can't come out. You know, you can't do that stuff. But, you know, I just love you so much. I love that we've had this conversation. I really want to know, everyone listening, I want to know what you think. And I especially want you to click the link in the show notes and give Kat's podcast a listen. This is important, you guys, because even if you are not someone that lives with a debilitating illness, and by the way, your podcast covers all illness, right? It's not just physical, it's mental illness, like anything like that. even if you feel like that podcast isn't for you, I bet you know at least 10 people that it's for, right? So many people are struggling with mental illness, physical illness, especially in this pandemic age that we're in. So I would love everybody listening to this to go to the podcast, download it, subscribe. If you like and rate it for Kat, it gets put in front of more people that need it. So even if you don't think it's for you, do us a favor and just do that anyway, please, because it means she can reach more people that need her, right? And it's vital, right? This is life or death, seriously. Somebody might be in that place that Kat was in, feeling like their life isn't worth anything, and Kat's podcast is going to show them that that isn't true. So I don't care. In fact, I don't even care if you think the podcast is for you or not. Please go and like and subscribe anyway, and share it around. And of course, the YouTube as well. We're going to put a link to the YouTube in there as well. And if anybody wants to connect with Kat, I'm going to invite Kat into the podcast Facebook group that we've got. So you can just post questions in there. And of course, I'm going to invite Kat to come on to the live episode as well. So you can join us for a live Q&A when we do that as well. That's actually going to be the Thursday after this episode airs. So
amazing.
We'll put links to that in the show notes as well. Kat, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been lovely. It's just been lovely to chat again.
I know. Oh, you're just such a magical soul. I feel so honoured to have met you, and I just, like, every time you speak, it's just such spiritual downloads and lessons that it fills my cup. So my cold even feels a bit better. So thank you.
Yay!
To everybody listening, remember, confidence is yours as soon as you choose it. I'll be back again soon with another episode, but look after yourselves in the meantime. Lots of love.
You've been listening to Lilli Badcock on the Confidence Academy podcast. Thank you so much for being here. If you loved it, please let me know by subscribing to the show and giving it a rate and review on iTunes. And of course, if you know anyone who needs this show in their life, please pass it on and share the love. If you have an inspiring story that you would like to share on the show, please get in touch using the link in the show notes below. And don't forget, you can hang out with me live every Thursday in our Facebook group, so I'll look forward to seeing you there. Finally, I would love to invite you to join my mailing list, where you will receive daily channeled guidance from me, as well as exclusive details of forthcoming podcast episodes and other exciting announcements. Click the link in the show notes to sign up, or visit lillibadcock.com. Thank you again for being here. I'll be back again soon with another awesome episode. Big love.